What's up, everyone? Welcome to the D-Generation Y podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex.
I'm the other guy, Mike.
Love it. That was actually nice and quick this time around. Beautiful. So tonight, I appreciate it. All right, guys. So tonight we're going to start off with a quick round of Guess That Poorly Described Wrestler. So, Mike, you want to...
You're confident that you're going to get it that quick, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. But I believe you wanted to give the hints first, so have at it.
All right. So this superstar likes blondes. We'll start with that one. Likes blondes.
All right. Christian.
No.
All right. Male or female?
Female.
Female. Okay.
No. This person is country. The superstar. She is country.
Mickey James.
Oh, fuck off.
You know how I know?
I should say that later. I didn't think you were gonna say male or female because you never do first. So I was like, all right, and then.
So you know it's hilarious.
You have Mickey James too.
We were just talking about what happens if we have one of these, and Mickey James was one of mine. Oh my god!
So my next one was has been a part of a couple of promotions.
Okay.
I should have switched. That's what happens when I number them. I always end up just going in order instead of like just I'm gonna stop numbering them.
Yeah.
And then it was gonna be Can Be Obsessive because of the whole Trish, but that was also the blonde thing too.
Oh my god.
And then Loves Their Grandfather.
Wait, what is it? Loves Their Grandfather? Oh, that's funny. So it's funny because I had like kind of similar hints. So I didn't know what order I was gonna do these in, but I did. Has won multiple titles to try and give like the multiple promotions aspect of like the TNA and then WWE. I said is a country singer. Said it can be obsessive for the Trish thing. Is married to a wrestler because her husband was like NWA champion a couple times. And then I had has been depending if you had guessed male versus female at all, or asked that, it was either going to be has been known to be a diva, or because if you remember the whole Michelle McCool storyline, has been known to be a pig because of the Piggy James thing. But yeah, so that's so funny that we were just talking about.
I shouldn't have. As soon as you said Christian, so I was like, all right, cool. He thinks male, but I know you said male or female, and I said female, but I was still hoping you were going to think Brock Lesnar for some reason.
That would have been funny, but yeah. All right.
Because like when I said likes blondes, well, not I guess Sable.
Because of Sable, yeah. That's so funny though that we both had the same thing after just talking about that. All right.
We
cool.
have to record behind the scenes then, so people know what
we should have. We did that for the first episode. We had like the behind the scenes to like get some of the thoughts. We should start doing that again because that was kind of funny for like little clips. All right, cool. So you ready to guess this poorly described wrestler?
Sure am.
All right.
I guess we really were quick.
That was. All right. So hint number 1 was in a faction.
X-Pac.
Not X-Pac.
All right. Male or female?
Male.
Okay.
They have consulted Ric Flair.
And you said it was male. It's probably not somebody in Evolution, but Shawn Michaels?
Not Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Are they currently active?
Not currently active.
Okay.
This person is a Hall of Famer.
Okay. This is not helpful at all. Dean Malenko.
Not Dean Malenko. He's not even a Hall of Famer.
He's not?
No.
Wasn't he in the Hall of Fame part of a faction?
I don't think so. Unless they counted him as part of the Four Horsemen, but I don't think they did.
Are the Four Horsemen not in the Hall of Fame? Maybe I just assumed they were in the Hall of Fame.
No, the Four Horsemen are, but I don't think they didn't count not his version. Yeah. All right. So yeah, you got a question now, I think.
when they were in the faction, was it like 90s, 2000?
Late 90s, very early 2000s.
Okay.
Okay. I'll extend this hint. Has both a son that wrestled as well as a father that wrestled.
A son that wrestles and a father that wrestled.
Yeah, well, I get technically now the son no longer wrestles, but the son was a wrestler, and then the father was as well.
No, because he's wrestling. Shoot. Oh, you're gonna give me a time limit.
Got some time.
Let's see. Rikishi.
Not Rikishi. That's a good guess, though.
I went to Bob Orton, but then obviously Randy's still wrestling.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a son yet that wrestles.
No, I was gonna because Bob.
Oh, your guess was gonna be Bob Orton.
Wrestled.
I got
Randy. His son that's still wrestling.
I got what you're saying.
Randy's still active is what I was saying.
I gotcha.
Oh, is it a clarification now?
Yeah, clarification.
When was their son active?
2010s.
Oh, I think I know. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Some people may think this person was undefeated at some point.
$1 Million Man?
No.
Okay.
Your last clarification question and final guess.
In the Hall of Fame. And he consulted with Flair. I don't know any way. Jerry the King? No.
You had a question, but Jerry the King. Yeah.
Had a question? Oh,
yeah, crap. you had your final clarification question. I'll still give it to you.
Well, I mean, I guess I just guessed and you said no.
That's fine. I'll give you an extra one because you messed up the order. I told you I was going to stump you on one of these.
I wonder if anyone else is going to get this.
Remember, you're thinking of a question, trying to think something that'll help you narrow it down.
Right. I'm like getting all the hints together to clarify. I don't know what the hell I want to clarify.
Do you want me to repeat the hints?
No, I was just. I mean, it was the son on WWE.
Yes.
Well? Okay. All right.
No, now it's your final guess.
Oh.
There's no more hints left. Yeah.
I'm not gonna get this one.
I'll give you 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. Some 2010. I mean, is it Dusty Rhodes?
No.
Oh, okay. Why did you sound disappointed?
Because I thought it sounded like you might have gotten me. So I was looking for Mr. Perfect.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Curtis Axel, his son, and then his dad, which maybe you didn't realize this, but his dad was Larry the Axe Hennig.
That's right, because that's where he got both of the names for Curtis Axel.
Right, exactly. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it was Mr. Perfect.
Son, yeah, that was a good one.
Those were kind of tough. I was very vague in like the hints, kind of.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was good though. That was cool. I like that. All right. Wait, what'd you say?
No, I said I pulled those guesses out of my ass.
Oh yeah. You were pulling from everything. You were like, I literally could see the wheels turning your head of like, what families are in wrestling? Who's a Hall of Famer and has a son? Like all of this, yeah. I could see the gears.
And Curtis Axel is so.
He's kind of like obscure.
Even on the B team.
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah. I'm at the B team. They're about to challenge Hardy and Wyatt. Like my next pay-per-view coming up is Extreme Rules 2018.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that was a fun little round. So I know I told you I was gonna not fully give you I wasn't gonna give you the person until we recorded, but the first thing I want to jump into and get your gut reactions. I have my opinion, and I think it's gonna be kind of controversial, but is this person a Hall of Famer in your mind? Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
No. So I know he will be, but in your opinion, should he be?
I don't know. I mean, has he done great things? Yeah, and some he's switched up and he's got, yeah, he should. I mean, as
Okay.
much as I get annoyed with the whole, take my, my ball and going home, whatever that Vince said that one time in those song call.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the one thing that I'm hesitant about is just the whole, whenever they become, and we were just talking about this with Roman, where whenever they become like that top notch, top tier guy, whatever, and they can do whatever they want, they just don't show up, which I very much enjoyed the whole Becky Lynch. I did because I showed up.
No, for sure. And so I'm surprised. I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, but also I guess not, since we are very similar. But I was just expecting your gut reaction to be yes, he's a Hall of Fame or deserves to be Hall of Famer. And then like once I got into my explanation, you like maybe kind of realized where I was coming from. But in my opinion, if he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I almost feel like it should be in the quote unquote celebrity wing of a building that doesn't exist. But my reason for that is kind of what you were going into. When you look at Brock Lesnar's career, yeah, he's won, I think, like 9 world championships, maybe. But most of his time in WWE has been part-time. He had the 2 years initially from 02 to 04 when he was full-time. But then after he came back in 2012, he does what? A few pay-per-views a year, and then a couple of random Raw or SmackDown episodes per year, which I get.
I mean, he's done for Hall of Famers that are in just obviously the regular whatever portion of the Hall of Fame that you're referring to. I mean, people like, I don't know, I'd probably go as far to say as somebody like The Rock. He's probably been on more live things actively in competition, like in like pay-per-views and stuff. If you add up all the hours of shit, he's probably performed more in WWE than The Rock. Maybe or no.
You're saying you think Lesnar?
In the grand scheme of it all, over all the years, or no? Because
number of years
for
sure, Lesnar has been around more. I don't know that he has necessarily more hours, because The Rock was active from like discounting injuries. The Rock was technically full-time, technically full-time from 96 until he left in like 03, let's say. So that's what, 4, that's 7 years, plus he had that like, right, and then he had the couple of years in like the 2010s where he was part-time. He had the matches with Cena, Punk, and that stuff. But I think he had like the longer career. But I think he also, and I'm not trying to say this as a knock towards Brock Lesnar, because I think he's a great performer, and I get it. He's a much more private person. Like, he happens to be great at this thing that puts him in the spotlight, but he also would rather not be in the spotlight at the same time. And the reason I say is because, like,
hard to say is he signing fans' autographs now? Because I remember at one point he didn't like to take pictures, sign autographs, or at least I think that's where I read some like interview or whatever.
Yeah, it could be. I don't
disagree.
know.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the things that he does, and I mean, I hear you and I agree your points, but I would say he'd be in this regular section alone, because think about the first. I mean, I think if you ask anybody, okay, who's the first like UFC person that made a successful transition into WWE as a superstar?
Sure.
They're not going to say Ken Shamrock. You and I might.
Some hardcore fans might. Might. Because there's not nearly as big, but there's Ken Shamrock, and then if you even remember, there's Dan Severn. I don't know if you remember that name from the 90s. He was what was that?
He was before Ken Shamrock?
No, I think it was around the same time. I don't remember exactly who started.
For some reason, I thought that was a thing that Ken Shamrock was.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say that Dan Severn was the first. I meant before. I meant before
Brock
Lesnar.
Yeah.
I meant before Brock. But yeah, and again, this isn't necessarily to be like a knock on Brock. I think it's, he's a personal person, like he's a private person, so he stays out of the limelight, so to speak. The reason I say the celebrity too is kind of sort of to your point of like, he had this, UFC career where then he was like, became a mega star really because of UFC. So that's why I say he should be in the celebrity ring, because after he came back to WWE, he was a part-timer who, did perform a couple of times a year, was world champion, all that stuff. But it was like, WWE helped him like get noticed by other people who maybe wouldn't have noticed him beforehand. But I think UFC is really where he like skyrocketed. So that's kind of why I say celebrity. But like, I also do get like, if, I'm not going to be like rioting in the street, like the streets of the city when he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, like right. Like I'm not going to be upset that he's like in the Hall of Fame as like a regular wrestler. I'm just saying in my mind, because of all of his part-time, like, and like, honestly, I'll even say the same thing to a degree of like Goldberg. Goldberg only had like maybe 3 or 4 years full-time in WCW. Then WCW went out of business. He had the 1 year in WWE full-time. And then he had like all the part-time appearances like 10 years later.
Yeah.
Right. And like
retired.
Right, exactly. He won the WCW title once, the World Heavyweight title in WWE once, and then in WCW he also had the US title and the tag team titles once each.
It's wild that people like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar are active for just such a short amount of time, and they're just so like staples. Like Goldberg, even though he was, like you said, I mean, he was out for years, and when he came back, like like everybody was
right. Oh, 100%. They're it's
people that were like saying young to even know who he was. I mean,
right. They probably hear like I don't know, like
legend status automatically somehow.
Right. It's like even not knowing wrestling at that time, it like, because that was like just before, or well, when he was in WCW, definitely way before, but even when he was in WWE, just before I like really started watching, like the chants of Goldberg, like with the drums and like all that, like that's just like an iconic thing. So that's why like people like them, they reach this mega star status where like they transcend just professional wrestling and people like know who they are.
And it's wild that it's just sometimes people like him, it's just such a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's all it takes. You have that one like iconic thing. Like I think it's not a person, but I mentioned it in like on TikTok the other day. It's like, yes, like the big gold belt, the world heavyweight title, has had a lot of great people that have held it over the years, but because of the iconic moment of Eric Bischoff handing it to Triple H and then Triple H raising it, like that's just who I associate with that title. Even though like people like Dusty Rhodes, Sting, Flair,
that belt specifically was made for Ric Flair or whoever commented on it.
Yeah, I had like
tidbit.
I feel like I had heard that before, but had completely forgotten about that. It's crazy too. Like complete side addendum, but like on top of that, back when that belt was specific for NWA, when you were I remember reading or hearing an interview in the past, I think from Ric Flair, when you got like, when it was decided that you were going to be the NWA world champion, you actually had to pay a deposit to hold the belt. So I don't know if you remember from watching this, but like when Ric Flair first went to WWE in the early 90s, he showed up with the big gold belt because the owner or the booker of WCW at the time refused to give him his deposit back of like, and it was like 12 grand, which was a lot of money in the early 90s. I mean, still a lot of the money now. Like I would want 12 grand back.
Yeah, I'd want my 12 grand.
Right. So it was like, so Rick was like, all right, you're not going to give me my 12 grand back. I never technically lost this title. I'm taking the belt with me. I'm going to go to WWE, WWF at the time, and be like, yeah, I'm the real world champion. Here you go. But yeah, so it's funny the way it's kind of stuff like that works.
Definitely threw us down a sidetrack.
Yeah, that was a complete tangent, but interesting content nonetheless. I know when we were prepping for this episode, the one thing that you wanted me to remind you about was you kind of wanted to go into Lars Sullivan a little bit, and then like just other big guys. So I'll kick it to you. Like let's chat about some big guys.
And I'm interested to see, I don't know, whoever watches these, if anybody ever wants to comment and let us know their opinion. I think it's a little unnecessary when you have the hype and the little previews of who's coming, like which superstars is going to be on main roster or NXT, whatever the case. And it's like, okay, they're a big guy. We're gonna see this giant come in, this freak of nature, this monster among all men, whatever the term they're gonna use to describe this giant. And then they come in and they give them what I literally, I don't know if anybody's ever said it before, but what I just deemed before this, the giant treatment. And they go in and they just destroy a bunch of little dudes. And it's like, cool, you just tossed a bunch of little men. Like what? Like what is the point of that? Just put them against another well-established big guy. Like I was saying, I'm just catching up on. I'm in 2019 now, so I'm seeing like Lars go after the Lucha House Party, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're a big man that attacked a bunch of little dudes. Okay, seen that before. It's almost exactly Big Show attacking, like almost exactly. And it's just like if we really want to be like shocked, like have him come out in the middle of a Braun Strowman match or something. And on the TV right now, that's why I looked up. But like literally just have him come out during one of his matches or something, and out of nowhere, like pick him up and I don't know, power bomb or suplex or something that we're all just like, holy crap, how did that just happen? How is this other whatever? I don't know.
Right.
Almost thinks this way.
No, I get what you're saying, because I kind of have like 2 points to that, because I feel like what you kind of wish they would maybe do a little bit more often is not that he's like a big monster guy, but like when Kevin Owens came in and powerbombed Cena out of nowhere. Right. Cena was like the champion at the time, like the staple of WWE. Wow, and it was like, wow, this guy just made an impact. The other point I was going to make is I definitely see what you're saying, and like they definitely kind of do that a lot. But the psychology, I think I've heard other people mention about it, and that I kind of get out of it, is that the thought process is you want this big monster heel coming in that can beat up 3-4 guys at a time, 5 guys at a time, to be like the next devastating challenger for your champion, whether it's the world title, US title, intercontinental title, whatever. You want them to seem like a threat. But I also get your point. Like, if they come in and attack someone like Braun Strowman, they seem like a much bigger threat. Much more of a threat than attacking like the Lucha House Party. But to be fair, they also did the same thing to Braun Strowman. They have this dude come in and he's attacking like the 4 local guys who are like just happy to be on, who are just happy to be on Raw.
Braun Strowman got the giant treatment as well. Every giant that comes in gets the giant treatment, I feel.
Yeah.
At first, like, okay.
Right.
Now
they get it at first.
Doing that, starting with Andre the Giant. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Yokozuna, kind of same.
Yokozuna,
concept.
Right. Well, they even did it with like, he's not like a huge guy, but like with Razor Ramon, they did the same thing. They fed him like these squash matches to make him look strong. And I feel like part of it is it's a tried and
that though with like they used to, I feel like you just said, in the early 90s or all through the 90s or maybe even early 2000s, they just gave like these new guys just all the random like no-name people that just showed up and didn't even have an entrance. And now I feel like the only people that they semi do that to are the Giants, because they don't do that to like people like on the status of Roman Reigns. I mean, Shield came in and immediately attacked everybody.
Right. Well, so part of that too is because like that's, I don't know if you've heard like the term squash match before, but that was really big in the 90s before the Monday Night Wars took off, because you just wanted your main guys, whether it was mid-card or main event,
to showcase their moves.
Right. You wanted them to showcase their moves. You wanted them to look good and strong. So when they met like another mid-level guy or another like main event guy, they look strong, they can have a great match, whatever. Squash matches kind of went essentially out of style, because then the Monday Night Wars took off, and you needed every minute. It was competitive. You needed every minute of television to be action-packed. Nobody cared about Razor Ramon beating up some guy that they've never heard of. Like, they want to see Razor Ramon in the Underground. Right, exactly. But yeah, so it's
I am
just
ashamed to admit that it took me way too long to realize that he is also Xbox and six. Like,
he is and
oh,
six pack.
insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah, same but different. um, but yeah, no, it and it's like it's almost like they keep doing it because it's the tried and true formula, but it also is very repetitive because it's like they beat up on all these little guys for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. Then they challenge for a title and they dominate the entire title match, and then miraculously the hero champion overcomes it all and wins it. And
Yeah,
it's
and
like, all
especially in
right, we
that
get
instance,
it.
if we know that the hero champion is gonna end up winning, have him come out and Kevin Owens the champion right away, or
Right.
the number one contender or something.
Sure. No, exactly. I agree. I agree
Yeah.
100%.
I,
Like
I
everyone.
understand it when you need to establish like a mid card or like somebody that's going to, and not to say that he should ever have been. I don't know if anybody ever agrees with, but like I feel like looking at a stand up of everybody at the same kind of height as Seth Rollins, like I feel like that's kind of like he could just be as somebody that would need a build up. You know what I mean? And that sounds terrible, but like when early
I
NXT
get what
days,
you're
you know
saying.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I get
And
what you're
like
saying.
I understand the concept doing it to like somebody like that, where you want him to stand out and you want him to stand out in the WWE universe and the fans to like you need a backup, right? But when
Right.
you're just introducing them as a giant or as this beast, or like it's okay, like he's gonna come out. We're gonna see how impressively giant they are. We don't need to see them attack somebody that's clearly 3 feet shorter than them. Like,
Right. I heard you kind of like mumble it a few minutes ago, but we don't need to see Rey Mysterio strapped to a gurney, like a gurney, and then Big Show lift him up and swing the
oh my
entire
God.
thing.
Yeah,
Like we don't need
terrible.
it's like a, oh my God, he just died moment, but it's like we don't need to see it
I
for
feel
every
that it
new
was probably that
monster.
should have been maybe the last time somebody got the giant treatment. Because that
Yeah.
one was probably the last time that we were all oh
No. And
or
poor Ray. But either that moment where Big Show
Khali
swung, yeah, where
or
he's like
That's literally where
swishing
my
his
I
hand.
was
Yeah, exactly. One of
damn
those,
it. Or what
like,
you know what? Poor Rey Mysterio. Didn't he get going? I just saw something that I didn't catch up yet, but didn't he I think in like 2019 or maybe even 2020, whatever, has a an eye for an eye match.
with Seth Rollins. Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck?
That's that's you'll see it, and obviously most people watching this have probably already seen it 2 years ago. But yeah, basically that's how they bring in Dominic. So Seth and Ray have the eye for an eye match. Ray loses, and then Dominic comes in to avenge his dad and faces Seth Rollins for a pay-per-view or two. But yeah, yeah, poor Rey Mysterio. He gets used and abused.
Now that we're talking out loud, I'm like,
he gets used and abused just a little bit. I wonder why he took a hiatus from WWE for a few years.
holy, you should just retire.
I'm just kidding, Triple H. It's all fun and games. We're just joking. Stephanie, don't hurt me. Yeah.
Why are you saying
I was saying because I was saying WWE uses and abuses Rey Mysterio. So like Steph, don't come after me. If Triple H is afraid of you, I definitely am.
You guys can come after me. It'd be just cool just to meet you. Like, they kicked my ass. And I smiled the whole time.
Just make sure the sledgehammer's with you.
Yeah, right. Just don't pay anybody to do it. Like if I'm gonna get my ass beat by the big man.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather be firsthand.
Exactly. So
sorry, the LeVake McMahon. No,
what?
Hyphenate McMahon LeVake. Does she hyphenate? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works.
Personal life that much.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know storyline she was McMahon Helmsley, but I don't know what it is in real life. Quickly, so pivot. I know we've talked about this for a little while. A segment that we want to do of to not get in trouble with a certain comic book. Could you imagine segment? So I actually have, and I told you, I told you off screen. I have to give you the background a little bit, but the first "Could you imagine" segment I want to go into is actually a future match of Cody Rhodes, where he's hopefully either the WWE or Universal Champion, versus Chris Jericho having kind of like a final / retirement match in WWE. So the backstory here is when AEW first started, Chris Jericho was their first world champion. He held the belt. Him and Cody Rhodes had a series of matches. The final match had the stipulation that if Cody Rhodes lost, he would never be able to challenge for the AEW world title again, regardless of whether or not Chris Jericho was the champion. So it was just never again in history could he challenge for AEW's world title.
Interesting.
Cody Rhodes never became AEW world champion, so naturally that means he lost the match. So now with Cody being back in WWE and on the Raw after WrestleMania this year, him mentioning like he's back, he wants to win the world title. He wants to win the title that his dad never got to have. What I would love to see is, I know Chris Jericho is currently signed to AEW. I don't know how long his contract is, but the could you imagine is down the road, a few years from now, Cody Rhodes has, reached the pinnacle of WWE. He is the world champion. And then out of nowhere, hopefully it can actually be a well-kept secret, but out of nowhere, he wins the world title. He's celebrating the next night on Raw. Chris Jericho's music hits. He comes down the ramp and challenges for him for a match, being like, you can never beat me in AEW. I'm going to take this world title from you. And like, I think that would be an amazing match and an amazing surprise moment.
No, that wouldn't work. I was going to say, it would be an interesting, so now to add a layer of complexity now.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you
let's hear it. Yeah.
Because then I feel like there would need to be a lot of buildup between WWE and AEW working together, which I feel like we potentially might be getting to. So, which I think could be cool. And I don't know, because it would be a lot for them to be, they'd have to really be close and working together, and everybody had to be friendly. But it'd be like a winner takes all type match.
So Jericho would have to be champion again.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought that's what you said. They were both champions at that time.
Oh, no. Sorry. So
imagine, that's what I thought you were saying.
So I think that would actually be amazing if it was a cross promotional like surprise thing. I was more thinking of like Jericho coming back to WWE, like actually being in WWE, like
released after his contract.
Right, like him like actually leaving AEW. Like people thinking he's retired, and then all of a sudden, surprise, he shows up in WWE. But no, I do
working together.
I got what you're saying.
Like the start of their feud type thing. That's what I thought you were saying.
Right. But I do like that idea better. Like, if Jericho ends up being just in AEW until he truly does retire, I think that would be a cool like crossover possibility. Whether Jericho's champion or not, just him showing up either, at the pay-per-view that Cody wins the match or wins the title, or like the next night on Raw or the next week on SmackDown, whatever it is, like just Jericho's music hitting out of nowhere while Cody is celebrating, and it'd be like, wait, is Jericho really here right now? And then like them going into like, remember those times you couldn't beat me, like boom, like I think it'd be a great storytelling. And like I actually in my like notes as I was prepping for this, I was like, this is like great long-term storytelling across promotions, which is insane.
It would be cool, because I immediately thought of like, right, I haven't caught up to it yet, but when Mickie James came back for the title, for the Royal Rumble, she was
right
title, right? Wasn't she the women's champion?
She was the Impact for the Knockouts Women's Championship.
And she came out. So that's how I like envisioned it. I was like, oh, Chris Jericho, but I didn't realize you were saying.
No, and that's a great point. Yeah, and like, which I guess we can even like kind of pivot into that. Like, a lot of people gave WWE the some grief of like they were promoting a bunch of like surprise entrants for the Royal Rumble from outside promotions, and then it ended up being just Mickie James. But I think the way that, even though it was just one person, I think the way they did it was really cool, because they had Mickie James come back in. They didn't force her to go back into her like WWE gimmick and character. Like they let her use her Impact entrance. Yeah, they let her use her Impact entrance theme, which is actually her own song. I think it's called like Hardcore Country.
She came out with her title.
She came out right.
Come out. Like it would be weird for her to. I mean, whatever.
But
to see her coming out that way, anyways. But
right, but that kind of leads that kind of goes to my point of like, I think they did it well because they didn't force her to like go to her WWE gimmick and like, oh yeah, your contract is with another company, but you still have to pretend like you're with us. They let her come out to her music from the other company being Impact. They let her come out with that company's championship. And like in the week leading up to the event, they even said Impact's women's champion, Mickie James, will be at the Royal Rumble. So like, not only was it just a surprise where they let her show up with that, like they promoted it as like, hey, this other company's champion is going to be in our big event. Like,
it's weird that like, I think we've talked about this before, but TNA just kind of not that they're, or Impact, whatever. They just kind of feel, to me, I guess, have gone under the radar for a while. And
they
like,
have.
I don't know if it's just like, does WWE just not that they don't care, like, I don't know why I'm acting like WWE calls a shot throughout all of wrestling, but
right. Well, so I guess because when when you I'm interested in what you mean by under the radar, because when you first say under the radar, I'm thinking of like they like fell off a little bit to the extent, and I was going to say that's because they lost their like national TV deal, and like the TV station they're on is like part of a special package, so not everybody has it. Like they used to be on Spike TV, so it was like that's a standard cable channel.
I didn't even know that I knew that they were on some type of cable channel at one point, because I just never really, I would tune in occasionally, but I didn't really like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I need to watch, TNA.
Right.
I think it was TNA at the time.
Yeah, it was probably was.
It's Impact now, right? It was TNA before.
Right, because it was TNA and their show was called Impact, and they wrestled in the Impact Zone, but then they eventually got rid of TNA, I think after Jeff Jarrett got bought out, and then they switched to the name Impact.
Got it. Yeah, no, I didn't realize that they lost their national broadcast.
Yeah, they lost it.
They're totally in the radar to me, but I guess now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, which it kind of sucks because, like, I mean, I know we've talked about this a little bit, but like, I can't speak for their current product, but I did enjoy a lot of what they did and I think we even talked about this on the previous episode. Yeah. I loved what they did when they had, I know you don't like them, but when they had AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, the Dudleys, Sting, Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Bobby Roode. Like they had so many previous big names and kind of future big names too that eventually make their way to WWE. You know, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Bobby Roode, just to name a couple. But it was like they had some big names. They did some good things, and they were innovative in a lot of different ways.
I feel like they when they were on Spike, and they were kind of like what WCW should have done with their big guys. They were mixing them in with the kind of
exactly
other guys, but.
Exactly. They didn't just like say, oh, you're Sting, you were a huge star in WCW, you're going to be the only world champion we ever have. They did that a little bit with Jeff Jarrett, but he was also the owner, so like that kind of makes sense. But they did, at least, like you said, integrate like big names, Kurt Angle, Sting, all that with like the up and coming guys to like give a good mix of talent and help build guys up, which was good.
I don't know with AEW, I feel like I don't know if they'll ever get to that point now that I'm thinking about it, because I feel like, what's his name? Tony Khan, right? He keeps making comments, and it's just like, I don't know. I just don't, the comments that he makes in interviews and stuff, I'm like, I wouldn't want it if I was a man or Triple H, but we'll see if it's best for business, I guess.
Yeah, so I always like, I hated but loved the best for business line that Triple H and Stephanie used, but I think in the scenario you're talking about, I think it really does work. I think, what's best for business might be them like kind of trying to go the opposite of the way Tony Khan is going, and like not, push what's the word I'm looking for? Like push the narrative. Like I think Tony, like whether, some people have tried to like defend him and say he's joking, and whether he's joking or not, I think he's made some like kind of interesting comments, especially in like the wake of Vince McMahon retiring. And I'm interested to see how that could, because we were talking before too a few minutes ago, like the potential of like, a crossover event between WWE and AEW. Right. And I wonder how his comments could potentially impact that. Because, if you're Stephanie and he's saying like kind of these, not directly, right? Not directly bad, but like saying bad things about your father and Triple H, like, father-in-law, like the person who helped bring you up in the business. It's gonna be like, I would have worked with you. It would have been cool to do. We would have made a lot of goddamn money, but
Well, that's what I mean. Like, do we think that at this point it's gonna be like they're gonna have to, I don't know, swallow their pride kind of thing and do what the fans want because it's best for business? Like that's where I
Right.
would kind of go.
No, well, and that's what I'm
Just
saying.
the
Like
comments, like how he's like just not like, and they're not like you said, they're not even like rude or bad. They're like, I guess, snarky more or less, kind of. But it's just
right,
like they're unnecessary, and it's like a joke
especially
is a joke, and that's fine. But it's almost like timing is key when it's
yes, that was you read my mind. That was gonna be my point. Like if you make those comments, you make those jokes, and it's
right.
been 6 months or a year or whatever, even 3 months, fine. But you made them like the week
They
after, like
yeah.
yeah, like you don't do it that quick. Like I'm not a big like I've never been a fan of like the phrase too soon. Like I'll make a joke at like any time, but like for something as big as that, like especially when there are the rumors of like that possible, co-hosted event, it's like hold off a little bit. Let the fans get what they would love to see. Because let's be honest, it in some ways it's like the second coming of WCW in terms of like competition for WWE or like a competitor to WWE. Like fans in the 90s would have loved to have seen a true crossover of WCW and WWE. Like let us see it now in the 2020s with AEW and WWE. So it's kind of like, I hope those
And then
comments
it's like,
don't
well,
ruin that.
do we even us, we're fans too, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
do we even care necessarily that it's a true crossover? Or do we just want WWE to buy them over and make it seem like it's like another WCW takeover?
That's
'Cause we just
fair.
want to see the superstars all together is really the end goal
That's very
of a
true.
crossover, anyways, too.
That's fair. I think
But
what a
the
lot
ones
of
that we know and like and their personalities, like we got to see Booker come out and
to an
like
extent,
so.
yeah. I think though what a lot of fans, myself included, would be worried about, in the assumption that
Yeah,
WWE wins the war and like they buy out AEW and do that like fake invasion storyline. You got to do it better than the first time around. Like
well,
you,
as a
you
kid,
can't.
I will tell you, as a kid watching it, it was amazing.
Oh
So
yeah, I
as an
mean like
adult,
I'm
maybe you could see that you can poke the holes in it, but as a kid, I was like, "What?"
yeah, so I'm sure you being like the kid at the time like didn't see the flaws, but I feel like even at the time, like if you were a little bit older or a little bit mature, you would have gotten it
That's what I mean.
because
Seeing it as an adult, you can poke the holes. Yeah,
right, because it's like yeah, it was cool. It was like presented as WCW and ECW invading, but then it was like no stars you had ever heard of. It was like who the hell is Buff Bagwell? I want to see Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Goldberg.
well, that was all they would have, I think, but that was all
Right.
contract.
Some of it was the contract stuff, which played a part into it. But it's also like
Brett wouldn't have, but
yeah. Well, no. Well, he was retired at that point too. But
oh yeah.
yeah. But so that's a fair point. Part of it was the contract situation, but then it's also like what they could have done and what I think there were talks of doing for a while was like let it be and the issue. I'll get into the issue with why it couldn't happen. From what I've heard, is part of it was Shane wanted to present himself as if he really did buy WCW more than just the invasion storyline. They wanted to get WCW Nitro back on TV to make it look like a real competition, as if the same person didn't own both. So this way, when the invasion eventually did happen, maybe the contracts expired and they came over to WWE like they did eventually anyways, it could have been this big thing. But unfortunately,
but also though,
because
as a kid, I wasn't really watching WCW religiously. Like my dad
right,
was, and the adults were, but I was just strictly WWE. So I didn't
for
really
sure,
even know that they stopped. I didn't know if
right.
WWE was, because at the time I don't even think I knew when WCW was on, because it obviously was on at the same time as WWE. So
Right. Yeah, they would direct. Yeah. But yeah, and like the issue that they were never able to get WCW back on TV to like execute that plan was because too many networks were, even though they like knew obviously the networks knew Vince owned the company now. They were like, WCW Nitro blew through way too much money. We're not taking the risk of putting you on our television station, basically. So that's kind of like why they can never launch
under
it.
a whole new management, under the trusting name of Vince McMahon, like
No,
that's
yeah.
not a risk at all, because he
No,
have the money to back it up anyways, right?
yeah,
So,
no, I mean, I get it, but like, I get your point, but I think just like it was the name. The name was mud at that point. Like people didn't want to be associated with the name Nitro or WCW and stuff like that. So that's kind of what it is. You brought up a name before
I know.
a few minutes ago, and so I'm gonna segue. I'm gonna segue into that because
I figured I'd throw that in there because
yeah, no, that was good because we've both had some interesting revelations about this individual recently. And for anyone that is listening, if you disagree with us, I'm sorry, but this is just the way we feel from interviews we've seen recently and just like thinking back on the events of the past. But the person we're talking about is the person who likes to call himself the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Bret Hart. We've come to realize collectively, and collectively, I mean the two of us right here, nobody else. He is not this great savior. He is not this great.
yeah.
He's a good wrestler, but he's not this amazing person. We've seen a lot of interviews recently coming out. You know, maybe they're a little bit older, but he seems to have a habit of burying other people that he's just not fond of and that he just doesn't like. And you know, granted, we're only seeing clips, so like I'm sure there's more to the story.
Context or whatever.
But yeah, like it could be out of context, but it seems very unwarranted the way he's going about it. And very controversial opinion. We've, you know, stop me if I'm speaking for you, but I feel like you would agree with me.
Yeah.
Maybe he deserved the screw job. Maybe he kind of was just a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe he really is just a like. I'm not saying Shawn wasn't a dick backstage back in the '90s, because even Shawn will say he was a dick in the '90s. But maybe Bret was a dick too. Like maybe he deserved it a little bit.
To be honest, it's not even about like deserving or not. It's just at the end of the day, how could you even? I don't know. I mean, put your name aside, put your feelings aside. How could he not understand where Vince was coming from? You just had Alundra Blaze go over to WCW with the title and burn it on live television or throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah, I was saying they didn't burn it. Yeah,
I wasn't sure if the dumpster, for some reason in my mind, the trash can was on fire and they threw it in. I don't know. That's how my mind worked.
Got it.
But regardless, it was still on TV and they clearly disrespected the title. So in Vince's mind, you were going to do the same thing. Right. And at the end of the day, yes, it's, you know, they're, you know, he's a superstar and they're all whatever and they whatever. It's still, it's their job, you know, and he's running a company, so he's still your boss. Your boss tells you, hey, and that's like a clear stipulation, like your boss runs the show. He decides who the winner is, whether you like it or not. And right after this match, anyways, you're not going to have to put up with him. This is the last. So lose the fucking match, as he says, and you know. A screw job doesn't fucking happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
You listen to Undertaker in the first place.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. The whole issue could have been avoided. Let Undertaker win first Hell in a Cell match. Have him take the title off Bret, and then let Shawn take the title off him. You know, a lot of ifs in this scenario, but right. I think the whole point we're getting at, you know, a lot of people I think have idolized Bret over the years, and to an extent, it's fairly deserved.
Yeah,
but I think you know, I think the point that you brought up, so maybe
treated unfairly during the screw. It wasn't a screw job. It was him not listening to. He wasn't doing his job.
As Vince put it, Bret screwed Bret. Honestly, like you said, you know. Exactly. 95% of the population has to go to work every day and do what their boss tells them, whether they like it or not. And if they don't like it, they're free to quit that job most of the time. Bret had already quit that job. Yeah. What?
Wasn't it the Kevin Nash interview where was it, or maybe he talking about Hulk when Undertaker got up and was like, "Not everything is about you."
No, I think that was actually about Bret.
Was that about Bret? Yeah. So exactly, like that's what it is. Like, not everything is about you. Like you're already that was like.
Yes. Oh, that right. That table for three segment when it was like Nash, Undertaker, and I forget who the third person was. Oh, was it AJ? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Undertaker, or maybe it was Nash. One of them stood up because they're bigger guys compared to Bret. Be like, yeah, it's not about you. Like, it's for the business. Like, shut up. And I think the other. There was something I was going to say that you had brought up. The point that you brought up. So I'll I guess intro it, but like you kind of talked to it more. Is like, it seems like the Hart family, every time they start to fall out of grace or fall out of the limelight a little bit,
Yeah.
they got to do something to bring
Bring
themselves
right
back in.
It's just like, dude, we've heard it for how many years now? Shut up. And
Yeah.
we all thought you were over it when you came back and what I thought he was over it after being Raw, wasn't he Raw GM? And then he got
For a
into
hot second, yeah.
or whatever. Like I thought after that was like when they all kissed and made up and everything was not, obviously it's not as simple as that, but like I thought he moved on, and clearly not. He still is making interviews in like late 2010s talking like
Right.
maybe even
And again, yeah,
when that last interview was, with that maybe even 2020 at this point. I don't know.
right. And again, disclaimer on this whole like segment here, guys, is we don't have the full context of these clips that we've been seeing, so we don't know. Maybe they're 15 years old. Maybe they're 50. I'm just saying maybe they're 15 years old. Maybe they're 15 days old. We also don't know the rest of the conversation. We're seeing clips, but this is like the gist
even the clip that
we're getting.
Why bring it up then?
That's true. Yeah. Well, you don't know, like the person he's speaking with, you don't know like what like led them down that road. But still, it does seem like
saying it's just like, dude. Like,
right, exactly. Like there's also, regardless of the question, regardless of the question, there's no need to bury these other people. You don't want to deal with them, don't deal with them.
He was saying about Triple H, like couldn't even make eye contact with his wife or something like that. It's like
there was something about that. There was like another one.
And what did Triple H screw you over with? Like you, at the end of the day, you didn't listen to Vince. Right. Vince has called the shots. It's always been that the matches are scripted. We all know that the winner is predetermined, whatever. Like right. You just want to, I don't like him, so I'm not losing. Like, shut up, dude.
Yeah,
and like, anyways, just
and like, his whole big thing was not only was it like losing to Shawn, because he has said like he didn't care about losing to Shawn like the next night on Raw or like a week later or whatever. He didn't want to have to do it in his hometown. But again, it's like it's your last night there. You don't like WWE's final decision with your character or whatever. You're going to another company anyways. Like it's not like losing,
but like you knew that was going to be your last match, and if then maybe you lose it before the freaking title, but then you wouldn't be at the pay-per-view, and then you probably bitch about that and say that was your screw job. I was screwed out of my last pay-per-view event or something.
Yeah, and
he's gonna cry about something regardless.
Yeah, it's we could go on for this for a long time. I don't think we need to beat a dead horse. I think though, just to lighten the mood up a little bit, we should jump into our second and final segment of Guess the Poorly Described Wrestler. So since you went first last time, I guess I will give my hints first. So this individual has been part of multiple promotions.
Dean Ambrose.
It's not Dean Ambrose.
Male or female?
They are male. This individual has won both the light heavyweight and cruiserweight championships.
Rey Mysterio. No,
it's not Rey Mysterio.
Was this person ever a comedy gimmick?
You could possibly say that.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, it's like they're when they first started, I would say they were a comedy gimmick, but then they did get serious towards like the middle of their career. Yeah. This person is known by not one, not two, but three different names depending where he is.
Hurricane.
Not Hurricane.
Repeat that again.
He's the last one.
Not one, two, but three different names depending on where he is.
Yeah.
When you say where, do you mean like promotion or just like physical location? I guess that.
Different. So different promotions. Yeah, different promotions.
Or I guess let me say, can you just elaborate on what you mean by depending on where he is?
Yeah, so like he had different promotions, different names.
Okay. All right. So now.
All right. So it's yeah. He has been part of multiple factions.
Adam Cole. Oh no, he probably is. Is he still Adam Cole in AEW?
He's still Adam Cole, but it's not Adam Cole.
But is he Adam
You're an idiot.
I know.
Clarification question for you.
All right. Is he still active?
He has sporadic appearances, but not for major promotions.
Yeah.
So like he appears sporadically on the indies.
Gotcha.
All right. Final hint. He is a Hall of Famer. Twice.
Ric Flair?
It's not Ric Flair. Final
The Hall of Fame
clarification.
player, right?
He's a Hall of Famer 3 times.
3 times.
No, twice. 3.
I knew it was at least, or I thought it was at least twice.
Twice, yeah. That's
Final
not Ric Flair.
clarification. There's a gimmick in the beginning. Potentially got serious. Was he ever a world champion? Yeah, probably because he was a Hall of Famer. Right?
Not a world champion.
Oh.
Final guess.
Oh, damn it. I'm not going to be able to get anywhere past this thought. Jerry King Lawler. He's the only one I could think of that was in the Hall of Fame, but he's technically been world champion, but not recognized by WWE, right?
Yeah, it's not Jerry Lawler though.
He's the only one that I knew I wasn't going to get past that thought anymore. So go ahead.
I really thought, so it's funny because I only had one hint written down. So the rest of them I had to come up on the fly. And you mentioned this person earlier. It's X-Pac.
Oh,
X-Pac. Yeah.
So what was the first hint? He's been a part of promotion.
Part of multiple promotions. So he was WCW, TNA, and WWE. He was cruiserweight champion in WCW, light heavyweight in WWE.
I forgot about that one, the light heavyweight.
Yeah, I said known by not 1, not 2, but 3 names, and I was trying to go for like 1, 2, 3 kid. Plus, then obviously that was his name and other stuff. Technically, and I was counting the 1, 2, 3 kid kind of as a comedy gimmick because it was like sort of like a joke at the beginning. What were my other hints? I don't have them written down, so I'm trying to think. The multiple factions, NWO and DX, and then twice Hall of Famer because NWO and DX are both Hall of Famers.
Yeah, whatever.
Stumped you twice tonight. Wow.
Even your vegans.
That's the point.
All right, you ready? No,
ready.
I approach it in like a poorly describing because like it's like poorly but funny. Not
That's fair.
Terrible. No.
Whatever. You're just a hater.
I know. All right. So this superstar has doubled their size since being in the WWE.
Drew McIntyre.
No.
Male or female?
Male. This superstar has been a part of some notable tag teams.
Jinder Mahal.
No.
What were you saying?
So I'll see. I'll see if I'll stump you.
Oh, you might. I'm not even sure where I'm going with this. So part of multiple tag teams and doubled their size. Have they been in any other promotions?
No.
Okay, so always WWE or NXT?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, WWE. This person, if they were to have, been fully active and done exactly what they did when they were fully active, would have been canceled today, most likely.
The Rock?
Oh, fuck yeah.
That was because we've talked about that of like, how did he get away?
I know, but we've talked about everyone being canceled today. The X.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna have.
It's funny because I took away all my numbers because of the last time. So that was supposed to be my final hint.
Okay.
My next hint was going to be is a terrible cook.
Okay.
Would you have guessed it after?
I might have.
And seems to love pastries.
Oh, poontang pie.
And strudels.
Strudels, yeah. Right, yeah.
The strudels.
You look at my
okay.
That's funny.
So it's a terrible cook because you can smell what the Rock is cooking, but I don't think anybody ever did.
Nobody could ever smell it, yeah. Oh, that's funny. That was good. I like that one. You have yet to stump me too. I think the last time you stumped me was In the text only though, not since we've been
No,
recording. I don't think.
Didn't I stump you when you were here?
No, because you get one of your hints was Kane. It was for Kane, and it was like
right. Yeah,
he's in government. And I'm like, that was easy. Oh man. Yeah, whatever. All right. So I think we'll start kind of wrapping it up. But I think one of the last segments that I want to talk about, I mentioned it briefly because we both watched it somewhat recently. Me, I think just this past week, and you probably a few weeks ago. The Greatest Royal Rumble, both the pay-per-view and the match itself. I personally had some gripes with it. And I'm going to start with the match. A couple things that I noticed. One, I found this kind of funny, and I wonder if you noticed it. Hornswoggle showed up as a surprise entrant. I don't remember ever seeing him go over the top rope. Him being eliminated was he climbed
the second or
right. So like he not even through the second, like he climbed out the rope himself, like underneath like the second one because he's small.
Right.
He climbed underneath the ropes or whatever to climb the turnbuckle, and then Braun Strowman or somebody else knocked him off the turnbuckle. So they counted that as over the top rope. I'm like, but he didn't actually go over. So does that mean he technically what?
Well, I guess what are the technicalities of if you're on the top rope? Because technically if you're on the turnbuckle, you're technically above both ropes.
That's fair. And I guess that's fair. So I guess that could be the technicality there.
If somebody wants to argue it.
Right. Yeah. If someone in the comments wants to argue like that is the fair technicality. But in my mind, I'm like thrown over the top rope, not going under legally and then climbing the turnbuckle, but whatever. But I found that kind of funny. I was like, they were like, oh, Hornswoggle's been eliminated. Like, but was he? I don't really know.
The other I thought of that match that you sent me the other day of him in like what was that promotion?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't even know where that was. But yeah. But yeah, the match specifically. The other thing that really irked me about it was they were treating it from a record standpoint as if it was a real Royal Rumble match, in terms of like they were actually counting like different records. So like Braun Strowman eliminated, let's say 14 people in the match. And they're like, oh, Braun Strowman just set the record for number of eliminations in a Royal Rumble match. And I'm like, but it's not the Royal Rumble. Like that, I don't know, like it's a weird little thing, but it just bothered me. I was like, it's
So you saying, so for you in your mind, for it to classify as a Royal Rumble, the winner has to get the choice to face the champion of their choice at WrestleMania.
Right. Exactly. To me, like if you want to up the number of people in the Royal Rumble, whatever. I think 30 is a good number. But if you want to extend it, fine. They did it that one year in like 2011, I think it was.
So it's funny that you think that that's the qualification for it to be a Royal Rumble, but for me, in my mind, it's always been anything 30 or more superstars. It's considered any over-the-top rope elimination match, 30 plus, is Royal Rumble. Anything less is just a battle royal.
Interesting. So then
that's how I've always seen it, but I don't know what the technicalities are.
So then I guess
couldn't anything be a battle royal then, or wouldn't all Royal Rumbles be a battle royal, or all
they are? Yeah, all
battle
kind of all Royal right. All Royal Rumbles are battle royals.
Oh, okay.
The main distinction between a typical battle royal and the Royal Rumble is like a typical battle royal, everybody's in the ring at the same time to start. And then it's just like, hey, eliminate the other 20 people or whatever. The Royal Rumble is like the incremental like entrances and stuff. But like, yeah, for me, like that was the thing, is like the Royal Rumble happens once per year and the winner goes to main event WrestleMania. So like to me, it bothered me that it was like the winner, who happened to be Braun Strowman, good for him. Like I kind of like him a little bit. But it was like he got this trophy and kind of a shitty looking belt. I was like, this isn't a Royal Rumble. Like it doesn't have that feel.
Didn't he get a number one contenders match though? Or wasn't he supposed to be number one contender or something like that afterwards?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But yeah, so like that was part of what irked me about it. It was like it didn't have the Royal Rumble feel, but then they're giving like Braun Strowman the the record for most eliminations in a Royal Rumble match. They gave Daniel Bryan like the record for the longest time in a Royal Rumble match. And I'm like, yeah, he started at number 2 and he lasted 68 minutes or whatever, but it was like that's only because there were 20 extra people coming into the match. So it
Right.
was like he didn't even have to make it to the end to hit that like 68 minutes. So like I don't know, it was just maybe, and maybe that's just
I guess it would just go to what would qualify as a Royal Rumble.
right.
Like
I
it
mean,
doesn't need to be the winner, like because
yeah,
it even at some Royal Rumbles, the winner doesn't face the champion; they become the champion. It's happened twice, right?
that's true. That's true. It
It happened
happened.
with Roman
Yeah, it
Reigns.
happened.
It happened with what? Roman
Rick,
and
Rick
Shawn,
Flair.
Ric Flair.
No, Ric Flair. Yeah, Ric Flair. Ric Flair won the title. I mean, that's fair. But also, when Ric Flair won it, they weren't doing the main event at WrestleMania at that point. Yokozuna was the first one to get that. But yeah, I don't know. It again, and this could be just
Yeah, I
me
guess,
being
yeah.
like, this could just be me being nitpicky. It was just like it was something that bothered me. It was like the Royal Rumble is 30 people. It's in January. It's a pay per view. Don't like make a greatest Royal Rumble and like keep
Or if you're
like
gonna
attach the
do,
records.
to your point, if you're gonna do the greatest Royal Rumble, replace the Royal Rumble that year
Right.
at the greatest
Yeah.
Royal Rumble.
Sure, exactly. I'd be fine with that too. Like, let it
Yeah.
be in January, temporarily change the pay per view, but like, don't have the regular Royal Rumble in January and then 3 months later, after WrestleMania, do this other like
Yeah.
event. And I get it; they were trying to like impress the
Yeah.
Saudi Arabian like audience and stuff. It was just, I don't know, it irked me.
It was just a way for them to get all the superstars in and perform
Right, exactly.
and show like the audience. And so
And maybe that line right there kind of explains the other piece of it too, of like they want to get everybody in and like they want to like excite the Saudi Arabian fans. But I felt like a few of the matches didn't have build-ups to them. Like the prime example
yeah.
is
I mean,
like the prime example.
I told you I'm watching Super Showdown. It's like it's like they announced that match and then started the feud.
Right. Well, but
They did that with Triple H and Undertaker. It's like, oh, I think what, the Crown Jewel or something like that, and then
yeah.
they now at Super Showdown they did it with Randy Orton and Triple H. They announced the match and then started the feud.
Well, so at least for those examples, like they're starting the feud. For Greatest Royal Rumble, they had the casket match with Undertaker and Rusev. To me, a casket match is to end a feud. Like you've already had a couple of matches. Now it's like this is the final thing.
Right.
Rusev and Undertaker had never faced each other, so why are they having a casket match? And there was no build up.
Yeah.
It was just announced like, hey, there's going to be this casket match. But then even after it was announced, unless I maybe missed it, the Undertaker definitely didn't cut any promos on Rusev, and I don't remember Rusev or Aiden English doing anything towards the Undertaker. So I'm like, yeah, it's a cool match to have, but like,
I would have loved to see
what's the purpose?
Lana do some skits towards Undertaker.
Oh, it would have been hilarious. That's my point. Like that could have been a good. That could have been a good feud, but you kind of squandered it by like doing this random thing. So it was just, I don't know.
They got really fun. How I was sending you the Snapchats during the mixed tag challenge. Did you watch that or no?
No, I skipped the mixed match challenge. Yeah.
I skip it until the last, like the final, whatever in the timeline order. I don't watch it in timeline order. I wait till it's like about to be the final, and I'm before, I think it was like before WrestleMania or something, or before the Royal Rumble, and then I just watch them all.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Especially if you want a good laugh, go back and watch all the skits between Lana and Rusev impersonating all the competitors. It's so funny.
I'll have to like for the comedy aspect, I'll have to watch that, but I probably won't like have much interest in the matches because I think there's no really payoff, right?
Yeah,
there's like
the first one there was no payoff. The second one, I think, no, there definitely was. They both the winners got to be the last entrance in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, right, because that's Carmella and R-Truth, right? Yeah. Okay. So like maybe I'll watch that a little bit.
And now, the first one was decent, but I enjoyed seeing how, because they got to show I felt like the superstars were actually themselves, kind of thing. Where I was telling you,
you mentioned that
Charlotte and Bobby Roode were the Robe Crusaders or something like that.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's very funny.
You would see them interact and like play off of one of each other, and then like the second season, you really got to see people being funny with each other.
Got it. Okay.
Kind of got to see it with like Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman because they were like Team Big Little type thing. That was kind of funny. But then like second season, you really got to see like Lana and Rusev being really funny. It was who else was Asuka got to be really funny with the Miz.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they were tag team both seasons. Because
Oh, okay.
the first one, and then Carmella and R-Truth were hilarious too.
I love
Honestly
R-Truth,
the second season was really funny.
I'll have to, yeah, once I'm fully caught up, I'll have to like go back and watch that more for just like the funness of it. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
It's because it doesn't go. It actually it's
It has
kind of
nothing to do with the story,
go with like the main story.
right?
And sometimes, especially the second season, people were getting injured or like somebody in the main story was doing something like more serious, and then they'd be playful and like the tag. So it was
Right.
kind of would throw you off. So doing it the way I do is kind of
the one thing I do know about the mixed match challenge, which this will be my last point, that I did enjoy, even though I haven't watched it, is getting ready for Money in the Bank 2018. There's a segment on Raw where all of the Raw competitors for Money in the Bank, both males and females, are sitting on the ladder. They're talking and like arguing over who's going to win. And there's a segment where
that was so
where Alexa Bliss is like, "Oh, I think my mixed match partner is Braun Strowman is gonna win Money in the Bank," and then Money in the Bank is like, "Oh, thanks, Blissy. Like, I think you're gonna win too." And then it was funny because they ended up both winning, but then obviously to combat them, Finn Balor and I think his partner was Sasha. Like they kind of did the same thing. Like, no way, you're crazy, Alexa. Like my partner Finn's obviously going to win this match. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They brought the mixed match challenge into it a little bit. Oh, I bet that. Like, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely have to go back and check that out. Well, anyways, guys, appreciate you guys coming out and checking out the D-Generation Y podcast. We hope that you enjoyed that. We're gonna go yell at our dogs some more off camera. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, that's it. Good night, everyone, and I guess goodbye. Have a night.